the pre-roll going, you know?
The pre-roll is my favorite part about the podcast because I don't have to think. I could just talk.
True.
I feel like Steve Carell in The Office. You know, I'm sure they handed him a script, but then in between they're like, just fucking go for it.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys who would like, you know, go a little bit nuts, have a little fun with it.
If you're one of the 5 people that like look at the agenda before listening to the podcast, you will see that we have the soda game back on here, the first podcast game in what feels like, I don't know, like 6 months, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And so we did crack it open. Jacob does not know the flavor. I do. All he knows is that it's like, what would you call it, like a Mountain Dew green, maybe a little bit lighter?
Yeah, a little bit like, kind of like Squirt, a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Squirt.
Enough, maybe a little bit clearer than Squirt. I have not tried this yet, so I'm going to go ahead and take my first sip. And so my goal for this is that we just casually sip on this throughout the podcast, and then when we reach the game section, I'm going to have you guess 3 times as to what it is.
Okay, we could do that. Right. I'll take a sip with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. So
while we're at it, hold on.
It smells like Sprite.
Go ahead, you go ahead and take your sip first because it can't be dead air. It's expensive after a while. You know?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Initial thoughts. Ooh, that's fucking good.
That's pretty. That's probably.
I didn't think that'd be this good.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow. Hold up.
Yeah, because Gabe added this on earlier in the week. I think I was in the middle of a tour or of the class or whatever, and then I looked down at my phone because they were talking to somebody else. That somebody else had their attention. I looked down. I'm like, oh man.
Well, because I was when I go out to PA every year, there's like a candy shop, right? And they do like teas, coffees, but like their main attraction is candies.
Sure.
And they have like an entire wall of like strange soda. And so I brought the buffalo
chicken.
hot wings,
buffalo chicken
flavored ones last year. And so this year I brought 2 more, but I totally forgot about them for like 5 months.
Did I call it? I did know it, right?
I believe you said, I think you said chicken wings. I don't think you said hot wings, but you're close enough.
Yeah,
close enough
in the ballpark.
So, any initial thoughts on this one? It's really fucking good. I might have to get like a 4-pack of this.
Yeah, it's sweet, but it's not like overbearing. It's got a citrus taste to it too. Okay. So that's my immediate impression.
It is. It's a lot creamier than what I thought it would be.
I think I have an idea.
Sure.
We'll get there when we get there, though.
All right.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, do that thing.
Gabe, I have to ask my question first. Gabe, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Second City Kids podcast, episode number 141.
Can't believe we're at 141.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. That's the
already
soda. That's that soda. Excellent. Was it as good as the second time around as it was the first?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
It gives me that velvety mouthfeel. If you know, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. for sure. We are back on, I would say, a pretty nice night on the south side of Chicago, Illinois. Nice for November.
Yeah, man. If you got a sunroof, let that thing down.
Yeah, it's nice. I was outside a little bit earlier, took a walk. But yeah, excellent. We are back. Obviously, I am your host, Jacob, and today I have Gabe, as always. Gabe, how was your week, buddy?
It was all right. I kind of mentioned to you before we started rolling that there's some new opportunities on the horizon, and we'll see where we'll go with that. Mm-hmm. And it's always good to kind of start that next chapter in your life.
Hey, Gabe, make sure you're talking to the microphone.
Oh, yeah. I'm real bad with that. He caught me on the other podcast doing that.
Because I'm like, I know that noise. I'm like, it's Gabe not talking to
Well, because my issue is that like I like to face the person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
But I also have my computer screen to my right, so I'll look at it and double check the agenda or like read off some of my notes. Yeah. And so my face will be pointed that way.
Yeah,
but
like
the
that.
mic, just like that.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I am guilty.
Fair enough. But yeah, man. That's good, man. So yeah, we talked about the opportunities. You know my advice on the matter, and hopefully you make the right choice.
Absolutely.
But other than that, we do have a little bit of an awkward agenda in like a fun way because I think there's a good variety of things on here. I have some game stuff to talk about. I got a review for that. It's been a while since we had a Jacob game review, right?
I think this might be the second one this year.
Something like that. It's been a while.
I think the first one was an indie game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look back on that. But yeah, we are back. So let's go ahead and let me get the damn thing out of the way.
The agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday I drove up to Muskegon, Michigan. Muskegon, say that 10 times really quick.
Muskegon.
Anyway, it was 3 hours one way.
Sure.
And we drove up to see Steve-O doing his bucket list comedy tour.
Okay.
I just want to say that I got my Jackass collection with all the movies, the show, Wild Boys, all the Bad Grandpas, the entire Jackass compilation signed by Steve-O.
Nice.
And it is my prized possession at the moment.
Very cool.
So let me tell you this. When I initially kind of saw that he was doing this comedy tour, I didn't know how well that would translate. Because I think 2 years ago, Wee Man, Pontius, Dave England, and Preston Lacey came to the Bottom Lounge to do like a comedy skit.
I do recall this, yes.
I didn't go to that. I don't think you did either.
No.
But I was like, well, fuck it. Let's get VIP to Steve-O. It's like $50 and anything crazy. I'll make the drive out, right?
Very cool.
So we go. And if you think you've seen Steve-O do nasty, off-the-wall shit, trust me when I tell you, you have not seen him do anything nearly as wild or as nasty as some of the stuff he does on this. So the way it's set, I don't want to give away too much because I genuinely think that it is, if he comes around to Chicago, you should see it because it is fucking awesome. Okay. I was like crying and I was cringing and it was a really good show. So just the general setup is he goes up there. He has a guy warm us up for 5 minutes, kind of lay down the ground rules, no recording, things of that nature, blah, blah, blah. Pretty standard. Steve-O goes up and he starts telling us about the story of his like recent life and what he's been up to.
Sure.
And so he starts mentioning a couple things that he's been wanting to do that are on his bucket list. And now Steve-O, he kind of says like, what's on my bucket list? It's got to be some crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
And so it is. Everything is absolutely wild. And the best part is it's in that familiar kind of jackass format that we know. So he'll go up there, he'll do the jokes, the kind of the stand-up, the ha-has, and then he will supplement it with the actual clip that they recorded and edited it for this bucket list tour.
Okay.
So when they are jokes, but they're not like fake made up stories or encounters because he has video fucking evidence for literally everything that he's done on his bucket list.
Okay.
He brought his dog Wendy. Oh my God, that dog is so cute. And dude, that's all I got to say. If he comes to Chicago, I think you should definitely check it out. And it was a lot of fun, if I'm being honest with you. And we see a couple of the Jackass guys make returns on a couple of his sketches. But that's all I'm going to give you because I think that if you grew up on the Jackass MTV life like we did, you're going to have a really good time at this thing.
Excellent. Yeah, maybe that is something I would check out. I'm a fan of that type of stuff. You know me. The wife may take a little bit convincing, but it's not the end of the world. How did Maddie enjoy it?
She loved it. She loves Steve-O probably more than I do.
Fair enough. Excellent. All right, and this is also the second note we got.
Okay, so I want to quickly mention that Northern Ghost is also from Columbus, Ohio, and that is just the hub of the hardcore world, right, or metalcore. Sure.
Yes.
Anyway, I was reading this article where there was millions and millions and millions of dollars poured into startup companies in Columbus, Ohio, and so people are starting to think that it's going to be the next Silicon Valley. Really? I don't know if it'll be to that extent, but what are your kind of thoughts on this?
Were you the one that told me that Columbus, Ohio is actually the swinger capital of the world?
I don't think that was me.
Who the fuck told me that? I think I heard that somewhere. Somebody said it, maybe like in a band interview or something like that. Somebody who was from Columbus said that, I guess Columbus is actually the swinger capital of the world. So, yeah, I guess. Right.
All right. Looks like we're going out east.
Yeah. So, that's kind of cool. Is there a particular reason why?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where we saw, like when we were growing up, when we were like, 10 or so, Pilsen wasn't the best of neighborhoods. But now it's like if you own property in Pilsen,
it's coming up.
You're going to be cashing out in the next couple of years here.
For sure.
And I think that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Okay.
And so my kind of thought process here is, well, if Columbus is on the come up and it becomes this great kind of like tech city, are all the good hardcore bands going to go away?
You would think so.
Because, part of like even like a pop punk band, right? Part of what makes your music authentic and genuine is the shitty city aspect, right? I mean, we've known it through hardcore, through pop punk, and everything in between, you know?
For sure.
So just thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm sure they still got stories from their childhood, so you always got those, so that's good. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I guess it's kind of a long-term plan for Columbus, and I hope, I don't think it's a bad thing if a city comes up, right? I think that's probably a positive thing.
Yeah, for absolutely.
The overall economy, especially with us, it's in the Midwest. If it's relatively close, it's not like, it might affect us in some way.
My biggest beef with Ohio is just driving through it. There's nothing to look at.
Well, that's like 80% of the Midwestern cities, though. States,
no, I totally agree with you, but I think just the big trudge is that Indiana's not too bad, but like Ohio is like a nightmare. It's just nothing at all to look at.
Yeah, Iowa's the same way too. It was kind of like fucking kill me, Nebraska, fucking kill me.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
You know what I mean? So that's interesting. Yeah, I'm glad that what is Beartooth going to sing about now?
Yeah, we don't know. Well, because Beartooth came out of there. Attack, we'll count those as one band, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Northern Ghost. What's their face that we did a review of this year? Oh man, the guys that did the yellow wallpaper. Help me out here.
Oh, the Lost Boys Collective.
Lost Boys Collective. Who else came out of Columbus? Northern Ghost, I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. There's a few of them.
21 Pilots, surprisingly.
Really?
They came out of Ohio. I'm sure if we sat down and compiled a list, there'd be a shitload of bands.
Interesting.
Because like I said, when I'm put on the spot, I can't fucking think about it.
Fair enough. Interesting. Excellent. So let's go ahead and get into this agenda, and let's talk about movies, TV, and books. So SpongeBob's getting a new movie.
Yeah, looks fun. And it's also getting a supposed spin-off on Netflix with that Nickelodeon deal we heard about last weekend.
Yeah, that's a little interesting. It's what's the animation style? What would you call that? Because it's not straight up like normal SpongeBob animation.
It is CGI-ish, but it lends itself very well to the SpongeBob theme. I don't hate it.
Yeah. So apparently it's like an origin story kind of a situation, I guess, where SpongeBob's a little bit younger and gets to meet Gary and all that fun stuff. So if you're a SpongeBob fan, hey, I mean, what other cartoon out there has had the longevity of
Simpsons.
SpongeBob? Huh?
The Simpsons.
Other than them, yeah. But
both suffered the same fate, man. Those early seasons, phenomenal, memorable by all means, and then just kind of downhill.
Fair enough. But hey, it's still around and still kicking and still having fans, still guarding a shit ton of revenue, I'm sure. I mean, they're still keeping them up, so there's a reason why, right?
Absolutely.
So hopefully that's cool. I mean, I might check it out if I get the time.
Okay, so we got Charlie's Angels.
Correct.
So it flopped.
Yes.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of stuff out there, and we're at the same spot we were, last year, 2 years ago with the Ghostbusters remake?
Yes.
Where people are like, well, men aren't seeing this because it's an all-woman cast.
Okay.
Well, did you see it?
Borderline. Elizabeth Banks, who was the producer of said film of the Charlie's Angels films, basically straight up said it. Like, yeah, this is why our movie failed, or her movie failed. It's like, well, let's look at this. No, that's not why the movie failed.
I think the issue is that nobody's gonna want to see it if it's a bad movie.
Yeah. That's a big part of it. And let's not pretend Charlie's Angels wasn't a thing a couple years ago. They obviously launched it with Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu, who were bona fide superstars.
Absolutely.
You have to keep in mind that the girls they picked this time around, one of them is as a star, quote unquote, depending how you look at it, Kristen Stewart, and the other two are virtually unknowns. All right, so Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu had drawing power. So they're going to bring people to the theater, and they brought them at least enough to a point to have at least a sequel, right?
Right.
So it did well enough. It has nothing to do with nobody wants to see a female, bullshit. Because look at Wonder Woman.
Nobody wants to see a bad movie.
Yeah.
My prime example is Alien. Alien is one of the most beloved both sci-fi and horror movies out there.
Correct.
Led
by a woman.
By a badass woman.
Absolutely. Like I said, Wonder Woman. Shit ton of revenue, made a ton of money, tons of people saw it. Captain Marvel made a shit ton of money, tons of people saw it. It has nothing to do with the women-led cast. It has everything to do with the fact that I saw the new Ghostbusters movie. It sucked. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. It was not interesting. It was not funny. None of those women in that movie are funny to me. This one, which is not exactly a comedy, I mean, I'm sure it has funny elements to it, but the part of the drawing power is the girls that are associated with the Angels, who are the Angels, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. Farrah Fawcett, one of the most iconic, looks of all time, right? She was a Charlie's Angel. And it has a lot to do with the fact that nobody asked for it, right? I think they kind of ran its course a couple years ago.
I got to disagree with you there. I'm not saying anybody asked for it, but I do think it was maybe a good time to start considering another Charlie's Angels, because I had totally forgotten about the franchise. And then when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think honestly, the big thing is the girls they selected. I don't
Absolutely fair.
Like I said, other than Kristen Stewart, I can't even name the other two. I don't know.
Why don't we do a live action Totally Spies? Do you remember that show?
No, I do not actually.
It was pretty much Charlie's Angels, but in cartoon format.
Okay, fair enough.
So
interesting. Yeah. So I don't like this whole it's because it's a female-led movie. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the fact that you brought back a franchise nobody really was clamoring for. Nobody really asked for it, and you brought it back with people who garner less than a positive review, let's say. I don't know. But I think that's the big problem with it. I saw it. the trailer in theater, and I told my wife, I literally looked over, and I'm like, who asked for that? Nobody did. So I don't know. I just think it's a little strange. And of course, everybody who is involved with the film is going to look for reasons outside of the fact that it was a bad movie on why it didn't do well.
That's just the big thing people want to ignore. It's like you're going to follow whichever narrative you want to believe or whatever agenda you want to push. But the fact of the matter, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. People are going to talk about it even after its release.
Correct. Even if it's one of those cult films, people will still talk about how good it was. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, prime example, 2 films I love. Donnie Darko flopped in theaters. Terrible fucking movie. But it has a very strong cult following. And people are still trying to figure out what the fuck that movie was about. And the second one was Hereditary, Ari Aster's fucking debut film. And like that's like one of the best horror movies in this past decade. It's not even a hill, but I will die on that hill for the lack of better words, because I don't think anybody would argue with me on that.
Fair enough. So yeah, I don't know. Tell Gabe yes, Adriana said.
Yes, what?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, what, did she watch Hereditary?
I don't know.
Anyway,
so
talk to me about Batman.
So more Batman casting news. Oh shit, who do they fucking cast? They cast. I forget his fucking name though.
This is why we take notes.
Oh yes, I forget his fucking name though. Shit.
And we thought I was bad with actors and actresses' names.
Yeah, you are. No, I forget his name. John Turturro. There you go.
Okay.
He is playing Carmine Falcone in the new Batman film. So I'm with it. Basically, Again, continuing the trend over the last several weeks, where the casting, maybe outside of Batman, has been pretty good for this film, and I'm kind of with it.
I think Batman's the only one that we're both kind of like halfway on. We're not totally sold, but everything else has been good.
Yeah, all the other casting news has been pretty fucking fantastic so far from what we've heard. So it's shaping up to be a very interesting film. I love everybody who they signed on for it. So hopefully, it delivers when it's go time,
Absolutely. Good stuff coming our way.
Absolutely. So we have a new Black Adam poster. Have you seen this?
I have not.
So The Rock is Black Adam, right? So that's something
Love
that we've that I think we've heard about for quite some time. First poster came out. It is very illustrated. I'm gonna say that because it doesn't look like it's a straight up picture of The Rock in like the costume, but it's like a drawn version of it.
Sure.
It's pretty impressive. It looks good. I think The Rock is a good choice. I think if you want to sell a movie, you put The Rock in it. I think that's a very wise choice on their behalf.
The financial department.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. At the very least, it'll draw some money because
you'll break even on what you spend on them.
Absolutely. And from what I'm hearing, Shazam in that universe is pretty well done on the DC front. Again, I haven't seen it, but I heard it wasn't that bad. So, maybe things are starting to look up a little bit further.
Yeah, hopefully they learn from the Joker, Wonder Woman, because once you got kind of a few good ones under your belt, you see what works and what doesn't, and we move forward with that.
True, for sure.
We make our own trends on this podcast.
Absolutely, we do. But yeah, so that's good. That's some news. So actually, I saw a movie earlier today with my wife. It's a film called Instant Family. Have you heard anything about this?
I have not. No, what is it?
This was a movie with Mark Wahlberg. Him and his wife.
I know what this is.
Yeah, him and his wife. They adopted or foster cared for these kids, a group of kids, 3 children to be exact, and kind of the whole shenanigans that comes along with that. Now, when I saw this trailer in theaters, I was thinking it was going to be more of a comedy. I think it definitely
presented
itself as kind of a funnier movie, and it did have its funny moments, don't get me wrong, but what I did not see or did not quite expect from them is that this movie had a lot of heart, like a lot of it. It's just something I didn't anticipate from them. So I sat down and I watched it with my wife, and like I said, the chuckles were there, and it was definitely had its funny moments, but it's also taking kind of a darker thing from real life, foster kids and how they kind of get treated and how the world kind of views them, and kind of makes it relatable and understandable, and why the kids are the way that they are, and how especially foster kids who are kind of tough nuts to crack because of the things that they have experienced in life that they've lived so far, and it's a very interesting movie. Like I said, I was surprised at the depth that it had. Did not anticipate for me to actually start to feel things. It could be me getting soft. I don't know. Being a parent and all that stuff now. But there's some scenes with these kids they're just like, wow, that's wild, that's crazy, and they make you feel stuff. There's definitely a couple of scenes that made me tear up a little bit because of how genuine it was.
Excellent. Did you guys stream it, or was this in theaters?
Yeah, it's on Hulu. It's on Hulu right now. So if you got Hulu, it's there. And just everybody did a great job. Mark Wahlberg did a great job. I forget the lady's name again. I'm bad.
You're turning into me.
Yeah, and I think her name is the younger girl. Her name is Isabel Moner. She was actually Dora from the Dora movie.
Good stuff.
But she has like great range, and she like naturally charismatic and just pops off the screen. So I think we could expect big things from her coming up in the near future, because she really kind of blew me away with this performance. And overall, the movie was a great time. And like I said, it had a lot of thought, and well done. Just well done.
So
overall.
It has your blessing, your recommendation?
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely recommend this film. And yeah, it was good stuff. So if you haven't seen it, again, it is on Hulu, so please do that. It's very, very cool.
Good stuff, sir. Let's move on to our next segment.
Wait, before we go.
Yeah.
Have you been keeping up with The Mandalorian?
I have not. I haven't even started it.
Interesting. Because every time I look it up and hear about it, people are doing like episode by episode breakdowns, and I'm like, is that how people like want to digest this, or is this something that everybody wants to see like the overall narrative and then talk about it after the fact? So if you haven't seen it, obviously we're not going to go through it because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I have been keeping up. Fucking fantastic is all I'll say.
Good stuff.
So that's probably something we'll do when the series is completely out.
I guess let us know on Twitter if you guys want like a weekly breakdown of the episode. I'll catch up.
Yeah.
If that's what you guys want to see, or if you want to wait till it's done and we do our big analyses that we like to do.
Absolutely.
Let us know.
Absolutely. That, and extremely easy to digest, these 30-minute episodes. Like, they're just, you want more, and I think that's probably the highest praise you can get from a series, right?
Disney knows what they're doing.
Yeah, they want more. And by the way, Favreau behind this, fucking fantastic.
Disney and Favreau just have this like agreement where Disney provides the crack and Favreau just sprinkles it. And so when we consume media, then we're like, oh.
Yeah, and we want more. Absolutely. So, yeah, let us know on Twitter. That's a very interesting thing. I'm genuinely curious on people's opinion on that.
Good stuff. Now, can we move on to gaming?
Yeah, I guess.
Good stuff. So last week I said we're going to come up with some games that we want for potential Nintendo Switch ports. And remember, this is just stuff we want. This isn't rumors or guaranteed or anything like that. Did you come up with your list? I
had a few off the top of my head I got for you. I got No Mercy. WWF No Mercy. Ooh, yeah.
Lordy.
Pulling out the big guns on that one. That's a big one for me. I would love to see that. Obviously, Donkey Kong Country. You have to, right? Mm-hmm. You got to see it. Even if I know it's not an N64 port. I know it was on the Super NES, but I would love to see that repainted and remastered up and looking beautiful and sharp.
Sure. Well, I just kind of opened it up to any ports. I'm sorry if I peeked the mic. So it doesn't have to be a Nintendo system.
Absolutely.
Boom, she'll just smack my nose. Go ahead.
So Donkey Kong Country is a big one. I'd like to see an updated version of Punch-Out. I think that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That might be a thing. Don't quote me on that.
Really?
Maybe not the updated version, but I know the classic is out there with if you have the Nintendo Switch Live.
So that's one. Obviously, Castlevania. Those first two, or the first four, I guess.
Yeah.
The first four Castlevanias, I would love to see those ported over. I think that'd be great. And Ghosts and Goblins, man. Dude,
when I was a kid, the dentist I went to had the arcade cabinet for Ghosts and Goblins, and I would just put in work on that bitch.
That's one of the hardest games of all time. So
yeah. Well, it's just a big middle finger. Here's my kind of list. So I got GoldenEye on here. I spoke about how there was whispers in the air last week. And then the next four are just kind of layups for this podcast, because if you've been listening long enough, you know what I want. Mortal Kombat 1 through 1, 2, and 3 Ultra.
Okay. On
a singular cartridge, or on a digital download.
Ultimate.
I'm sorry. Shaolin Monks.
Yeah.
Layup.
Yeah.
Pro Skaters 1 through 4.
Yep.
Undergrounds 1 through 2.
Yeah.
Any of the Metal Gear Solid games, any of the mainline entries, especially those early like PS1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could totally port that over.
Absolutely.
These next ones are kind of questionable. So Medieval. I know that's a Sony property, but I think it would translate very well to the Switch, at least the original version. I haven't touched the remake yet. Chrono Trigger.
That's a good one.
The Silent Hill collection, because the Switch needs more horror games.
Sure.
And then I got some interesting stuff for these next three. So these next three are Nintendo games. Super Mario 64, I think, is the one everybody wants.
I'm surprised we actually haven't gotten a redux of that even.
Yeah. Then comes one of my favorite Mario games, Yoshi's Island 2. That's the one I probably spent the most time on collectively over the years. And then Mario Kart Double Dash.
Double
And
dash.
so
That's a good one.
here was my thought process in all this, right? Because I would argue that most people agree that Double Dash is the best Mario Kart. And I was gonna put Mario Party, one of like I believe 4, on here, but I was thinking like if we got Switch ports for Double Dash and one of the earlier better Mario Parties, nobody would ever buy a new Mario Kart or new Mario Party ever again.
You're probably right about that.
It would probably be a detriment to Nintendo.
I'm surprised you didn't put Super Mario Sunshine on there. That would have been a good one too.
Yeah. But that was just kind of, I was typing it up and I was like, well, shit, I know for a fact that if they put Double Dash, I personally would never buy another Mario Kart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my list, man.
Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime, yeah. Some of these obviously have licensing issues. I just thought out of like my PS1 days, my Game Boy Advance games, and just kind of, over the past 2 decades that I've been here, what would translate well to the Switch. And I think the Tony Hawk games would do great.
Yeah, I think
if Activision ever lets up.
Well, you know how that goes. Yeah, that's a good list. I like that. That was a fun little game to look back on. Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff. All right.
What's up next?
Moving along, we got some EA stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah, do your review.
Well, you want to talk? Do you want to do the review first and then talk about the whole scenario that I shared?
Yeah, do your review and then we'll talk about the video.
Alrighty, so EA put out, or I'm gonna fucking do this the right way. Respawn Entertainment put out a game called Jedi Fallen Order. All right, it came out 2 weeks ago at this point, I think.
I believe so.
And I finally got through it and I played it, and I just want to say that I just want to give Respawn Entertainment proper love because they've done an excellent job with this IP. All right, and I think they have done a great job of telling a unique story in the Star Wars universe. I think a lot of people, including myself, looked at it and saw it as kind of like a Force Unleashed kind of a reskin.
Clone.
Yeah, kind of a reskin. And that I told you even before the game came out, I'm like, it kind of scares me because it does kind of look like that to me. And I will say that I was 150% wrong with that assessment. Gameplay wise, it is silky smooth. All right. People are calling it Dark Soulsy. I wouldn't say it's that hard, but it definitely has a layer of difficulty that if you are not prepared to and don't properly think of a game plan when you're encountering a group of foes, even if they are the basic big bitch stormtroopers, that you can die. All right, and that will happen. You have to use your brain. You cannot just run in and do crazy force power moves and get out of the way, much like the Force Unleashed. All right. So, like gameplay wise, it's great. They have some great what's the word I'm looking for?
Storytelling.
Well, I was talking more about the gameplay.
Mechanics.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like wall run.
Gotcha.
What's the fucking name of that?
Parkour.
Yes, thank you. The parkour kind of elements to it. I think that they have actively made the choice to go out there and explore different corners of gaming. And they're like, well, we like these elements and we like these elements. Let's combine these things and make them unique to us, right? So I talked about Dark Souls-like combat, right? It does have a little bit of that. As far as like the wall running and the parkour, it has a little bit of Uncharted with it, a little bit of Assassin's Creed mixed in there. And progression-wise, again, kind of Dark Souls-y. But maps-wise, kind of Metroid Prime, Castlevania kind of a feel to it. And a lot of backtracking, but in a good way, where it doesn't feel like it's a grind to have to get through that. It's fun and interesting to explore the world that they have created. Now, as far as like design, it's a beautiful game. It is fantastic. Now, again, I mentioned this last week on the podcast that I did have some performance issues. Apparently, I am not the only one.
Yeah.
That, maybe the game is not as
optimized.
Yeah, optimized as it should be on release. But from what I understood, Respawn Entertainment was kind of rushed when it comes to the completion of the game. So I forgive them for that. Load times are a little bit longer than I would like them to be. A lot of texture popping in and out. Again, I'm not going to be completely upset at them for it. And apparently there's a patch coming down the pipeline to get that fixed. So that's good news on them. They've painted a beautiful world, man. They are planets that we have seen before that we get to explore, Kashyyyk being one of them. We've seen a little bit of that throughout multiple variations of the Star Wars universe. Dathomir. I think I know they have a little bit on like
Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. They show a little bit of that, but we get to explore it this time around. Very interesting. There's a lot of great little things. New planets. Bogano is one of them. They talk about what's it called? Some interesting Inquisitor stuff. They go into some of that, and it's just a great job. The lightsabers, just kind of being able to manipulate them and change them, and maybe not in the gameplay sense, but you be able to kind of customize your lightsaber and get it to look how you want it to look, and that's kind of awesome, right? And Respawn Entertainment has proven once again that you can make a single player focused game and have it be worth the $60 of admission, right?
That is $60 game, single player. Worth it. How often do you hear that nowadays?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. And storyline wise, I was completely intrigued all the way through. There's some moments in there I was like, whoa, and it kind of had me like my mind blown a little bit. Have you stayed away from spoilers from this?
I have not seen anything on the game. I'm probably gonna wait for a sale.
Okay, fair enough. I get that. There's some really good moments. It's some really great writing, and it's actually about like relationships and dealing with issues and maybe PTSD about certain events that have occurred in your life, and finding people taking different ways or approaching it to get over such incidences and stuff like that. Very interesting story between Padawan and Master, and kind of survival's guilt in some ways when it comes to these things. It takes place five years after
Order 66.
Order 66. So the story was great, and I was totally intrigued. And like I said, any backtracking they make you do didn't feel like a chore. And yeah, man, overall, I love this game. They did a fantastic job, and Respawn should be commended for their performance and the work that they've put in, because so far they haven't put out a bad game. I mean, I know they were varying levels of success financially, but this one is a success in every sense of the word. I think their sales are doing pretty well, and they created a wonderful world and expanded on Star Wars lore without making you feel like you're just this indestructible force machine like you did in like The Force Unleashed as an example, because you did feel like that, like nothing could be, like you couldn't be bothered by anything. You're fucking pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky. You're not that powerful here. But by the end, you feel like the character is a what's it called? There you go. That's a capable Jedi Knight, and I'm with it, man. I loved everything about it, and so far, I think it's probably the highest score I've got in the game this year. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Wow. All right.
I'm gonna give it a 9. And like I said, I wasn't really anticipating like gonna enjoy it that much, especially that first hour. I'm like, a lot of the performance issues became distracting to me, but after a while, I just kind of blended into the background, and that was it.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So with that, you did send me a video earlier this week by What Culture Gaming about I guess, theory you would call it, because we have no kind of concrete proof about how EA wanted Fallen Order to die.
Yes.
And so the general premise of this is, and we advise that you go watch it. They did
a great job, actually.
They did a great job. Mm-hmm. And so the gist that I got from it was that there is no heavy marketing. Mm-hmm. A lot of the cool parts of the game, like the interplanetary travel and stuff like that, was not mentioned. Mm-hmm. And then it was released sandwiched between Modern Warfare and another big game that's launching soon.
But that's what those are the big ones.
What do you think about all this?
I think there's definitely correlation between these things. I don't think they're completely making this stuff up.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. And it was an excellent observation, because I don't think either of us really like sat down and like thought about it.
Yeah.
You might have, because you actually have hands-on experience with the game.
Uh-huh.
But I think what Culture was kind of insinuating was that EA wanted this game to die, because then they could show the stockholders and people like that, like,
the gaming community as a whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they could be like, look, really, nobody's interested in a single-player game that we can't put loot boxes in. But I hope this game sells well, mm-hmm. and I hope it shows them quite the contrary.
Yep, because obviously Respawn Entertainment did not get the memo on that. They made themselves a high-quality game and put love into it. And, because even when you brought it up, you're like, man, that Jedi game is coming out soon. I'm like, I didn't even know. Because you're right, the marketing has been very, very little, if any at all. You know what I mean? And that's a shame. They should be ashamed of themselves for that. Even if it's not true, even if it's just pie in the sky and we're just making shit up, it still went past me, and I consider myself a hardcore Star Wars fan, as do you, right? And I don't think it's right for something like that to kind of get past our our radar. You know what I mean? I think there's something wrong with that picture.
Absolutely.
So,
and it's just the way that EA has been treating the franchise. And I think they were in a position where Disney said, hey, fix your fuck ups. And so they were, I don't know, maybe they had their arm twisted into making this single player story driven experience that they put Respawn in charge of.
Yep. And like I said, Respawn did not get the memo because they knocked this out of the park. They really did.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, check that video out on YouTube. Like I said, that's What Culture Gaming.
Yeah.
And it's like a 17-minute video, but it just keeps you on the hooks the entire time. They do a phenomenal job.
They definitely broke it down and made you. They had you convinced by the end. You're like, yeah, I could see a lot of that being a thing. So EA with their shady business practices continuing to be the evil empire. Anyways, moving along.
Did you put this on here or did I put this on
did.
here? Okay, because sometimes I'll like see that something's on the agenda and I'm like, well, I heard about this. Did I put this or did you put this?
Yeah, I put it on here.
All right, fire away.
So basically, they have like a blueprint of the new DualShock. And
it's a patent, by the way.
Yeah, a patent. And basically, looks a lot like the old one.
So a couple of changes, slight changes.
Yeah.
The angle in which I don't even know what to call them, the grips, is just slightly different, and they are slightly fatter and deeper than what they are currently.
Yep.
But I think the biggest change is the removal of the light bar.
Yep.
Other than that, it's the same old PlayStation controller we know and love, I guess.
Yeah, for the last 20 years. But yeah, basically, yeah, it looks very much the same. Like you said, I think they made it a little bit bulkier. And I think they also changed the triggers up a little bit. But for the most part, yeah, it's the same. It's the same stuff it's been.
I like the PS4 controller. I love my Xbox One controller. But I think my biggest issue with the 4 controllers right now is the battery life. It is hilariously bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Because I'll throw on some Netflix, and by the time, like...
the movie's over.
yeah, the thing's like low battery. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Why do you think I have fucking 6 rows of rotation over here?
You know what I mean? But I just think that they could have honestly kept the same exact controller. But if they said, hey, bigger, better battery... I think it would have sold like hotcakes.
For sure.
Especially if they're making these controllers like retro compatible, like supposedly the Scarlett is.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
For sure. So yeah, it's like, typical Sony with the remote, slight modifications, but overall nothing too crazy.
I think the biggest change we ever got in a PlayStation remote was the addition of the joysticks, from the Gen 1 PS1 controller to the Gen 2 PS2 controller.
Yeah, that would be the biggest change, I believe.
Because they overall, I still have my PlayStation 1 controllers, by the way. I have one. I still have my PlayStation 1 period and the memory cards.
Nice.
But
remember the archaic idea of memory cards? Remember when like...
Well, I was going to bring this up. We'll do it for podcast games. I'll jot that down.
Okay.
So stay tuned for like 5 more minutes.
Interesting.
Okay, so Half-Life is coming out with Half-Life Alyx. Broke the internet earlier this week.
Yep.
It is a VR game. It looks very good. And they're trying to push the Steam Index, which is their VR headset. And this game looks to be free if you have the Steam Index.
Okay.
Well, I'm just glad that Valve totally didn't abandon one of its most loved franchises, because how many times have you heard Half-Life 3?
Yeah. Every day or every year at E3 for the last 15 years, probably.
Yeah. It's not a true Half-Life 3, not a true sequel, but it is more content for a franchise that is beloved. And I'm glad that we're moving forward, and maybe one day we'll get a 3. I'm still waiting for Left 4 Dead 3. I fucking love that franchise.
For sure. Man, what's up with 3s? Some of these franchises can't make it past 3 for some reason. That's a strange thing.
Yeah, Valve can't not count past 2.
Apparently. All right.
Good stuff. So, did you see this at all?
No, I did not.
Okay, so Google Stadia launched earlier this week with mixed results. Some people are saying it's absolutely terrible, and other people are saying it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's not as hot as Google thought it'd be.
Wow, big shock.
Yeah.
Who called that?
With the announcement of that, Amazon said that they're doing their own game streaming service. And everybody wants in on this now, right? And I think at the moment, there's no clear winner with streaming games. That being said...
Definitely not the consumers.
Yeah, right? What do you think about this?
Because
there's a couple theories I have in my head.
I take big issue with companies that are not inherently involved in gaming.
Stay in your fucking lane, right?
Inherently involved with gaming, trying to step foot in the gaming
Even
sphere.
Google as well.
Yeah. Google falls in the same category. Apple falls in the same category. These people...
And you know what's absurd? Apple is still cheaper per month than like Stadia is for like the membership.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know about the whole streaming games thing. We've talked about that. I think it's too reliant on like internet.
Network connectivity.
Yeah.
Well, even people that have like 300 megabytes down per second, they're having like latency issues. So it might not even be like your connection. It just might be Google's servers.
Horrible servers. Well, to be fair, they probably purchased like 2 because nobody bought the shit. I mean, let's be real. But yeah, man. I mean, I think I'm looking forward to this project or this fad in gaming to die. I'm pretty excited for it, to be honest.
I don't think it's going anywhere, at least in the next 5 years.
I don't think, but my thing is, I don't think people outside of the gaming sphere is going to revolutionize that. Yeah, revolutionize that.
Yeah, I think somebody like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, or one of their sub companies is going to come out and do it the right way.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next decade.
Yeah.
And then everybody's going to follow suit.
Yeah. But like I said, Apple and Google are not the people.
So here's my follow-up question for you, right? Amazon and Google are both very big players and just in general, right?
Sure.
Do you think Google rushed their product because they knew Amazon had something similar in the works?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Also, another kind of strange idea. If this Amazon game streaming service is bundled in with Prime, that'll be interesting.
My question is bundling stuff with Prime, is that even financially viable after a while? Wouldn't you think that's a problem?
Well, because they used to bundle Amazon Music with it, and then they took away a whole bunch of stuff, and now for the full unlimited, it's like $8 a month.
Yeah.
So it was there, then they took it away, and this and that. But I think the thing is here, right, is that if you get users to come in, right, like for something like Smite or Warframe, something that's like free to play, you want a daily user count and you want user retention, right? Because the initial thing may be free, but they're going to spend money on whatever the fuck it is that they spend money on, right? And
correct.
Smite, it's the Founders Pack or skins, and Warframe, it's skins or whatever it may be, right? And I think if it is bundled with Prime, I think the idea is like, here's like a game for free, like I don't know, maybe not Minecraft, but let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say Minecraft for free, right? And it's like, well, if you want another game to stream off our service, here's Red Dead Redemption for $60. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Amazon would buy like the licensing rights, the distribution rights, I don't know, and they would get a chunk of every sale that they make.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I'd imagine, you
It's
know?
just starting to get so muddy, though. Like, I don't know. I can't, like, my little brain can't handle it, I guess.
I hate products and services as a service model. Streaming movies is one thing. That makes sense. Streaming games, nah, dude. Maybe in our lifetime, not in this next decade.
And I, like I said, I think it's just I don't understand who it's marketed to.
Yeah.
Because
like if you're a gamer, you're going to buy the console.
Or have a PC. You know what I mean? Like
Precisely.
These things are geared up for the particular thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's focus on perfecting one thing first. Let's get VR right and maybe not perfect, but like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Where it's easily accessible and it's done very well and like most people have it maybe.
Perhaps,
right? And then let's move on to the next big gaming thing, because I feel like VR is getting to that point where some of these headsets are getting cheap.
Yeah.
There's more games coming out, this and that, and we're getting to that point where maybe most gamers will have a VR headset.
Yeah. I agree.
But now we're pushing the agenda of streaming games because a monthly subscription is what the fucking business model calls for.
Absolutely. I don't like it, and hopefully, like I said, I'm kind of looking forward for it to die.
Good stuff. So I'm going to read you off some of the Game of the Year nominations for the... who the fuck does it?
Is it the VGAs or is it the Dice Awards or what is it?
I believe it's the VGAs.
Okay.
Okay, so here are the nominees. There's a bunch of categories like Best Narrative, Best Game Direction, Best Score Music.
Hey, Gabe, speaking to the microphone.
Speaking about Best Score Music.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go for like the general Game of the Year. So first nominee is Control by Remedy and 505 Games. Apparently it was like a sleeper hit because I didn't see anything about this, but I feel like everybody's talking about it.
Okay.
Number 2, No Surprise, Death Stranding by Kojima Productions and SIE. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate by Bandai Namco or Nintendo. It has longevity, man. You cannot doubt that.
Yeah, but it's not. But my issue with it is it's just like a it's like saying like Mortal Kombat 3 isn't the same thing as Ultimate Mortal Kombat 1. Eventually, it's the same fucking thing. But anyways, moving along. It's just content that's different. Really.
Next nominee, Resident Evil 2 by Capcom.
I forgot about that. I forgot that came out this year.
Yeah, that is a great fucking game.
Yeah, I know you love it.
Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice from Software and Activision, and then The Outer Worlds by Obsidian and Private Division.
That I've heard a lot about.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about that as well.
Interesting.
So those are the general nominees. I think I think Death Stranding just made the cutoff, honestly, because it's usually decided Q4, right? Like late Q4.
Yeah.
And so, interesting assortment. I don't think some of these are surprises.
I think I already know who's going to win, though.
What are you going to say, Death Stranding?
Yeah, just due to the name attached to it. I mean, like how just for like gaming culture as a whole, how sweet would it be for Hideo Kojima's next project after getting fucking slapped around by Konami to be like the game of the year?
Yeah, I got my money on Resident Evil 2.
I mean, I could see that happening too, and I wouldn't mind it either. But I just love the story. I would love the story that Kojima got
the underdog,
got
the guy on top got kicked out of the castle and worked his way back up.
Got kicked out by Konami. And
yeah, I think Death Stranding is in this weird position where there's just too much kind of, I don't even want to call it controversy, too much like division between the gaming community. That's all it is, man. You know, like not everybody's gonna go, yeah, that was the best Chiodos album.
It's such a weird and quirky game, and just like some of the weird shit, like the some of the ad placement is just hilarious to me. It's just
I said, I got my money on Resident Evil 2 because Resident Evil 2 is the best thing since Resident Evil 4. And that's a fucking accomplishment. Yeah. And now we got rumors about Resident Evil 3 Nemesis around the corner.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
So clearly, if we can get the same quality of game as the Resident Evil 2 remake, these things, Resident Evil is going to be back on top for horror games. Because this remake scared the life out of me.
Well, from my understanding, 7 Biohazard wasn't bad either. It was pretty good from what I heard. So it's not like it fell off. I mean, obviously, people have mixed opinions about 6. I think that's like the low point of the franchise. But 5 was cool. You know, it was less horror, but more actiony. But you know, it was cool. And like I said, 6 kind of got slapped around a little bit. But 7 brought it back, from what I understand. And
good stuff. But like Resident Evil 2 is the like quintessential
I agree.
Resident Evil experience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So you should pick that up if it's like $20 on Black Friday.
Bro, I can't. I told you about this though. I can't.
Why?
I'm terrified of it.
Dude, I was playing with my surround sound headphones on, and it was the part in the police station. And I'm walking, lightning strikes, and a zombie smacks the window, and I jump out of my fucking seat. I was like, holy shit, yeah, I need to walk away for 5 minutes.
Gabe, my life is going to be short enough as it is. I'm not built for a long life.
Did I tell you about my one buddy who he bought the game like right around the same time I did, and he played it with his windows open in the middle of February with the lights off and the windows open? I was like, you fucking psychopath.
Was he trying to fucking channel a fucking dark energy or something?
Right? Well, you fuck around too much and the zombies will come through that window.
Right, for sure. Oh, we actually skipped something.
What do we skip?
Ubisoft's Nightmare.
Oh, yeah. What's Ubisoft?
Did you hear anything about this?
No.
Ubisoft sales for this year?
Downhill.
93.8% down. From,
what the fuck?
From last year. So, yeah, they're getting it in the teeth. And they have a bunch of studios, do they not? They have like 4, 5 maybe of them. And I don't imagine very many of them being open for much longer. Because I think... Montreal and
I think Montreal's the only safe one at the moment.
Yeah, would be the
Siege has been doing great.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of these things got pushed back. We talked about that. Quarantine, Gods and Monsters, like these games got pushed back because it's just they're hemorrhaging money right now, you know. And a lot of these, titles that they strapped their name to or strapped it on the back to kind of carry them this year did not. And
I'm calling it right now. They got an ace up their sleeve. Splinter Cell, and they're gonna drop it hopefully as a single player.
Now you're asking too much. But that's the problem. Again, this just fucking formulates or drives home the point that when your whole entire game plan to make money is wrapped around loot boxes and all that other stupid bullshit, and it doesn't work.
And they're trying to turn everything into this like RPG shooter thing.
Yeah. It ain't gonna work.
Like with Ghost or Wildlands and
The Division.
Ghost Recon, Odyssey, the last Assassin's Creed. That was very RPG-esque.
Yeah.
Let's get these games back to their roots and don't fuck with Siege because that's the only thing still bringing in cash consistently.
Yeah, like I said, I think that number doesn't include Siege due to the timing of it all. But yeah, that number is a scary, scary number, and hopefully they're I mean, we've been saying it for fucking months at this point, but hopefully they're starting to take a look in the mirror and realizing that maybe this wasn't such a great idea.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean?
Let's get into these podcast games. It feels weird to say that again.
Yeah.
So the first one, the Strange Sodas. So we've had, 40 minutes to kind of set on this?
Yep. I got an idea.
Okay, I know what it is, so I'm not going to guess. You got 3 guesses to get it right.
Key lime pie.
Oh, no, but we're really fucking close.
Really?
Yeah, like scary close.
You're not going to give me credit for that.
It's the same. You want to take another guess?
Well, that was like I was like begging on that one.
You are like atrociously close.
What is it?
It is lemon meringue pie.
Ah, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I told you. Oh, you were like scary close by Melba's Fixins. Lemon meringue.
You know what it was though? I think if the color was more yellow, I probably would have subconsciously guessed.
That was. I didn't think you'd get that damn close.
Yeah, because it was pretty close. Because it was citrusy. It had kind of a cream soda kind of vibe to it. So yeah.
I think key lime's a bit more tart.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
But that was like grossly close. I'll give you credit for that. That's man, I don't even want to say that's within the same ballpark. That's like almost on the same base.
Well, to be fair, I drank all of it.
Yeah, I did too. That shit was delicious.
That shit was real good.
Yeah, so I'm glad this one panned out a lot better than the fucking Buffalo one.
Yeah, because I don't think I finished that one. I think you did. I don't think I finished it though. But yeah, that was fun. You said you got another one for us next week.
Yeah, so I'll bring the other one next week and we'll rock and roll. So another game that quickly came to my mind when you mentioned it. Battle of the Retros. I've been meaning to put this on forever. What do you think is more retro in your opinion? Memory cards for your system or games with 2 discs that you got to switch over? Because I think both are excellently retro. You know, things like Final Fantasy 7 come to mind.
Metal Gear
Solid. Yeah. What do you think? Well, I know a couple of modern games do it. I believe Red Dead Redemption 2. Maybe I might be mistaken.
Well, I downloaded that digitally, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay. But yeah, I know some games still do the 2 discs. Yeah. But what do you think's more retro, man? Memory cards or the dual discs? Because I feel like back in the day, dual discs were way more mainline.
Well, I think the memory card, because I think now it's just like an absurd thought process with like everything that we have. That
what do you mean I gotta buy an extra dongle?
Yeah, like it's just an absurd thing to think that. Well, what do you mean memory should come with it? What the fuck? You know what I mean? And I remember when like I got the PlayStation 2 because I didn't have the one. I got the PlayStation 2 and my brain like melted. I'm like, what? My games don't save.
Why do I gotta restart it every time?
Yeah, my games don't save. What are you talking about?
How long did you play without a memory card for?
Not long.
Not long. I think I played my PS1
probably a year.
I think I played like 2 years before a memory card.
Oh, wow.
And you know, granted, like some of these fighters I loved, it didn't matter because it came unlocked with most of the characters. Yeah. And some of the, like I had like a crazy like roller derby, a couple racing games. It didn't matter for those, but I did have Final Fantasy 7 sitting on the shelf, and I was like, I know I can't do this in one sit.
Yeah, no way, it's possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting little thing. Interesting memory cards are. Well, mine was yellow and black.
Oh, that's tight. I had the PlayStation Gray.
Oh, okay.
And you know, it was advertised as PlayStation Gray, but when you plugged it into like your PS1, at least the PS1 I had, it was slightly lighter, like a couple shades lighter.
Want to hear something strange?
Sure.
Actually, my very first memory card, because my mind just got fucking activated.
A brain blast.
Yeah, basically. My first memory card actually came with software, where I had to put a disc in first.
That is crazy.
And then it booted up the memory card, and the memory card's like, oh, what's up? But then I was able to take the disc out and put a new disc in.
That's wild.
Yeah, so it was like its own program. Like I put a program on my console to remember games.
Well, the PlayStation 2s had a wave there of people running Linux on it. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty wild. The PlayStation 2 was a powerful system. Yeah. I think my favorite part about the PlayStation memory cards as a whole was that when you saved something on the memory card and then you went through the system to look through the memory card, it had the little icons and they would like little dance around.
Yeah, the little logo. Them. Yeah, well, there was like games that were like, why the fuck's this game so big? Delete it. Like that type of shit happened. There were some tough decisions made back in the day.
Absolutely, because those things were what, like 512 kilobytes?
8 megabytes at the most, I think.
Dude,
was the one.
Well, maybe for the 2.
Yeah,
not for the 1.
Yeah, not for the 1. Yeah. So I remember like, what game was it where I'm like, yeah, I gotta let this go.
We got to take L's here.
Yeah. Something's got to go. Fuck, maybe I was from like one wrestling game to another. I'm like, okay, I got the new one now. I don't think I have to play the old one.
Man,
anymore.
I bought one for the OG Xbox because that had like onboard memory. Mm-hmm. But my nephew was like, dude, I think I was like 10 and he was like 6 or 5 or something along those lines. And so when I wouldn't be home, he would go into the memory, and he thought to boot up the game, you have to click on the save file and delete it. And so after like months of this crazy abuse, I bought a fucking memory card. And whenever I had like an important save file, I put it on the memory card and I took it with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is unfucking-believable. Like, you know, and I played Knights of the Old Republic was like my big game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had save files with like 40 hours on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just fucking wipe them clean.
Damn, dude, that's
Yeah,
wild.
So, Battle of the memory cards. Down memory card lane, huh?
Yeah, interesting.
It's coming from the same guy who has a tech deck by his side.
Absolutely. Gabe keeping it real.
Good stuff. Let's get into music news and reviews.
Excellent.
Okay, so we don't have an album this week, but we'll find one maybe before the end of the year.
Maybe.
If you want us to review your album, fucking hit us up on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm pretty active. Jacob's pretty active. Active-ish.
Yeah. I check it a lot. I just don't tweet a whole lot.
Yeah, we're kind of silent.
Yeah.
Which is bad for podcast hosts, I guess. But
yeah, it is what it is.
anyway, if you have an album that you want us to review, either your band or somebody else's band, preferably came out in the year of 2019, let us know. Tweet at us or send us the DM and we'll review it. And we'll try and get around to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I am like over the top ecstatic for this because you know I still have my shirt from like 2010 that does not fit me anymore. Scary Kids Scaring Kids is coming back.
Yep.
With Cove.
Cove Rebirth, formerly of
Seosin.
and also of Dead American. Is that the name of that?
I believe so, yeah.
Dead American. And
they're doing The City Sleeps in Flames.
Yeah.
15-year, holy shit, 15-year anniversary tour. Woo, daddy.
Yeah, Gabe just took a fucking blast from the past right there.
So they're doing a couple dates in the Southwest, Cali, Texas, Arizona. And they're doing the album. They're doing a couple of other fan favorites. I imagine Faces, Snake Devil, and a couple of other good stuff.
For sure.
So for those of you that might be younger to this scene, Scary Kids Scaring Kids was a post-hardcore band out of, I believe, California somewhere. And they
San Diego, maybe?
Mayhaps. Yeah. And they sent kind of shockwaves through the community because they did some interesting vocal work, some interesting guitar work, but this was a band that was plagued by bitter arguing amongst themselves. And then in 2014, when Tyson Walker, the lead singer, died, that was the official disbandment.
Yep.
But you know, some say it goes back to like 2012 and 2010 because there is a missing third album that we never got.
Sure.
What do you think about this whole situation?
I think it's cool. I'm just waiting for fucking Drop Dead Gorgeous to get back together. That would be great. I would love to see that. Can we get that too while we're at it, please?
Can we get Texas in July?
Ooh, fuck, what are you saying?
Can we get This or the Apocalypse? Yeah. Bands that went away too soon?
Well, Hawk is technically This or the Apocalypse now.
Yeah. But still, there's a lot of bands I miss.
For sure.
And I saw this pop up. And dude, I swear to God, I called it on this podcast, didn't I?
I think you have, yeah.
I think it was late last year. I was like, dude, Scary Kids Scaring Kids wiped everything from their social media and changed their profile pic. Like, they're up to something.
Yeah.
And so, fun little story of how this started. Cove did the cover of Scary Kids Scaring Kids song, and the guys in the band were like, well, we didn't even think about getting this back together, but when our manager called and he said, hey, do you guys want to bring the band back together? They're like, yeah, but Cove has to sing.
Yep.
There's no way we're doing this without Cove.
Yeah, Cove's been friends with them for quite some time. Obviously, when he was his time in Seosin, I think they've toured together quite a bit.
And he's filled in for a couple of Warped Tour dates in 2009.
Yeah, well, they were doing that rotating cast. They had a couple of vocalists come in to do some songs. Craig Mabbitt being one of them, Craig Owens being the other. There's a few of them that hopped on stage for them. And yeah, man, I think it's kind of an interesting thing. And like I said, maybe we could see some older bands come back. Hopefully make this a little bit of a fad. Because I think, especially like Scaring Kids and stuff like that, that's like a untapped resource. Because I feel like they'd never really hit like as high as they can go, and then
no way they had a strong following. Yeah. It wasn't a big following.
Yeah, but I think they could have been bigger.
I think oh man, and there's so many good bands that came out of the Arizona Phoenix, Tempe area. Mm-hmm. I still stand by it that if The Bled came back, it would be mayhem. If Job for a Cowboy came back, mayhem. There's so many good bands that came out of that area. And
something about the desert, man, pisses you off.
Yeah, something about Columbus, Ohio. There's something in the water in Columbus, Ohio, and there's an absence of water in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona.
All we know is that water is a fucking problem.
Yeah, so I might have to take a Friday
Australia
off.
is fucking surrounded by water.
And we had a lot of great metalcore bands come out of there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might have to take a Friday off and fly down to Arizona for that reunion tour because this band's very important to me.
Boston's still trying to get tea out of their water. Sorry.
Yeah, we had Davey Muse drinking Tea Harbor water. And then he said, yeah, I want to be in Vanna.
That's the 300-year-old tea party thing that he's still trying to get rid of. Sorry.
So this is the part where we make a joke about Flint, Michigan.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to have like black metal bands coming out of Flint, Michigan. Anyway, Scary Kids coming back. SKSK. I never thought I'd see that be a thing again, but I am super excited. Man.
Game's excited.
I'm excited, dude. I love this band, and
Excellent.
I'm glad I called it. I'm glad something came out of it.
Yeah,
I love seeing.
We
these
do that a
stories
lot
come
though
full
on this podcast though. We do a lot of that,
like with Star Wars.
Yeah,
like with shit. What was another thing that we called?
Well, we've talked about just tons of stuff that actually came to fruition after a while.
Yeah,
I think before it came to fruition. We talked about scary stories to tell in the dark, and like there's a variety of stuff that we've talked about prior to.
Yeah, man, we're just gypsies. We have premonitions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe we just spent too much time with the things we love, and we see where it's going.
That's most likely it. Yeah.
Good stuff. So I have a little bit of news.
Speaking of which, before we continue on that, and this is totally unrelated to anything we have previously talked about, but I actually did call something too, talking about spending too much time with the things we love. The White Sox made a signing this week.
Oh, great!
And I literally said the day before to my mom, I'm like, we need to sign Yasmani Grandal, and she's like,
$73 million. Holy shit! What? I don't even like sports, but $73 million. What the fuck?
Yeah. So, and I said it like the day before, and I told my wife. And after it happened, I'm like, yeah.
Shit.
I called her. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, remember that player?
You owe me $20.
Yeah. I remember that fucking player I told you the White Sox signed. Yeah, well, guess what? We just fucking signed him. So I named 3 other players. I'm like, watch, these are next. So if that happens, I think I'm gonna be burned at the stake. But we're not gonna get into that.
Quick little segue from that. When I still frequented Top Cut Comics, the Yu-Gi-Oh guy there, their main Yu-Gi-Oh guy, Gigi, there was a card called Psyblocker. It was a monster card, and so once per turn, you could call the name of one card you thought your opponent had, or just any card in general, and your opponent could not use that card for that specific turn, right? Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like a guess game.
Yeah.
And so he was telling me the story of
how you
how
have to know your opponent too.
Yeah. He said he had it was like a finals match, and he had 3 prohibitions, which were like spell cards, continuous. They stayed on the field. Same thing, except you don't get to change the card every turn. And so those 3 premonitions were like shit that could deflect attacks. And then he had 2 side blockers out in the field, and he called exactly everything his opponent had just based off just fucking cold turkey, like a cold call. And he's like, well, I think he probably has this card and this card. And so he called him right, and he won the fucking duel like that. and his opponent was like, dude, you cheated. You knew I had those. He's like, no, man, I just made a really good fucking guess.
I mean, if you're like, well,
know what the staples are.
Yeah, if you're that well versed in the game, you kind of know, like, okay, if he got this, then he's probably got that too.
I mean, when I was in the scene, I knew exactly, even like decks I didn't run, I could probably tell you 90% of what was in that deck composition, because that's usually what a deck recipe is. It's 90% and then whatever staples you think you might need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so Bleed From Within, a band that we covered last year. Shout out to those guys. I think they're from Scotland, the UK.
Australia,
maybe Australia. Anyway, they replaced Parkway Drive.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And so they tweeted something. They tweeted a date 11/29. So this Black Friday, for all our U.S. friends, I'm expecting a single and maybe a new album announcement. Super excited to see where their sound goes from this.
It's going to go the way of ire, like Parkway Drive. Well, never mind. I'm not going to manifest that into a real thing. I'm not going to do that.
Let me get another Deep Blue or like Wild Eyes.
Atlas or something.
Yeah. Not to say that they're riding off the coattails, but I am excited to see them carve kind of their more niche and personalized sound.
Sure.
Because when the last album came out, everybody was like, this is what the last Parkway Drive album should have been.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited to see what comes out of them. Stay tuned for that, and we will have an album review when that thing comes out.
Absolutely we will, because I like that album a lot.
I think that was, I don't think it made your top 5 that year.
It was just outside of it, though.
Good stuff.
Yep. Alrighty, so speaking of things to talk about and things to potentially go to, We Campus Romans got a little tour coming out, right? Celebrating the 10-year anniversary of To Plant a Seed, which was their debut album. I can't believe that's been fucking 10 years. Don't get me started on that, because I remember when that came out and it was brand new.
Maybe we should do a 10-year review of that, a retro review. I think, yeah, We Campus Romans doesn't get enough love on this podcast.
Sure, we could do that.
I think it's a good album to do it on.
Yes, we could do a retro review of We Campus Romans To Plant a Seed. We'll actually do that for you guys next week. Boom. So, they announced a little tour starting. Yeah, Gabe was all confused. He's like, starting in Chicago and ending in Michigan?
I didn't know they were from Michigan.
Yeah.
They, I thought they were like out of Cali or something. But
They do got that California kind of cool kind of vibe to it. But anyways, they're going on tour. Obviously, they are headlining to play To Plant the Seed all the way throughout, and I'm sure a variety of other songs, featuring The Devil Wears Prada.
Awesome.
Gigantic Gideon, who we just saw together, so that's interesting, and Dayseeker. So playing at the House of Blues.
I believe Dayseeker is above Gideon too.
Actually, I thought it was the other way around. I thought Gideon was above.
I guess we'll find out when the tour starts.
Yeah, because Adrian's like, can we go? I'm like, yeah, we can go. So
easiest decision of 2019.
For sure. So that will be happening in March. Now we'll be taking the day off that day, and we will be going. So that is part of the plan. Speaking of which, another thing I didn't put down, Bad Omens is going on tour with 1,000 Below. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, good chemistry.
Yeah.
Of music.
Good
I don't know if they get along, but good fit.
Yeah, it's a good fit. They're playing the Beat Kitchen also in March. I think it's like a couple days later, so we'll have to make a choice there. Yeah.
We can't have dead air, so we're gonna make a war.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. Alrighty, so so it should be a fun little tour, and yeah.
And I did mention it earlier. I do want to bring it up again because they've been kind of quiet, and I have not found their Twitter yet. Northern Ghost did tour earlier this year with Glass Hands from Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They did, I think, like a 12-stop mini tour.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping 2020 is the year we get new Northern Ghost, because I put on the album the other day on the way to drive to Michigan, and oh my word, that thing is still fucking great.
It's still tasty?
Still tasty 3 years later.
Very good, very good. Yeah, they would, whatever they decide to drop something, that's going to be up there on the list. I am sure of it. All right. So, was that the podcast, Gabe?
I think that is what they call a podcast, Jake.
Alrighty, so thank you guys for joining us for episode 141 of the Second City Kids podcast. We will see you here next week for episode 142. And
stay tuned, because we got year-end wrap-up right around the corner.
That's coming up very quickly indeed. And Gabe talked about, we're going to review To Plant a Seed by We Campus Romans for next week's podcast, to get a little bit of love for the retro review. Alrighty, folks, if you have nothing else for me, I have nothing else for you. This was the Second City Kids podcast, and deuces. Mouse click. Thank you guys for joining us this week on the Second City Kids podcast. You can like us on iTunes, Google, anywhere else podcasts are found. Any comments, questions, or concern, you can email us at secondcitykids@gmail.com. Until next week, folks, deuces.